And sometimes we get interrupted, especially when we're okay. We're back live. We're back live on Tony Ford at Facebook. So as I was saying, man, uh, go out and order your Botana oil. You know, via you can DM me, inbox me, and send me your order, what you request, the size, and I'll tell you how to pay for it, and you tell me where and how to ship it. Okay, and that's for Botana oil. Or you can go directly to our website at www.gloosuds.com. All right, you can go directly there, and that's for our Botana oil. All right, I'm gonna pull everything in together on what my subject matter is about this morning. All right. Also, we are an online publishing company, an online bookstore and publishing company. All right, and we are a book club as well. So with that said, man, for many of you who have relatives or whatever incarcerated, you can't send a book directly to them. As a matter of fact, you would have to order the book directly from a distributor from a bookstore. Well, we are a bookstore. Okay? So if you're looking to purchase a book for any of your relatives that are incarcerated, and look, take it from me. I read over 3,000 books during my incarceration. And I purchased about 2,000. Well, family members did, and I did. We purchased about 2,000 of them. All right, I was in a book club to whereas at that point in time they were able to send them. Families were able to send them directly in. So I read as many books as I can get my hands on. The other 1,000 or so, there were books that come into the system, and then guys would pass them out. But then guys start selling. They start actually having guys pay to rent the book, and a guy would pay up to $3 and $4 in stamps to rent the book or store. But this is the way that you gained a lot of knowledge and you stayed conscious about things that were going on in the world through reading. So reading is very, very important inside the penal system. All right. But we also market books to online book clubs as well, and anybody else that just want to walk into our store and browse. All right, you can go to our bookstore and purchase my book, Business Always Personal. Okay, you can go and purchase my book at Business Always Personal at our website, which is www.bookshop.org/shop/Sonetquity. That's www.bookshop.org/shop/Sonetquity. All right. Here's another book that I'm reading. I've read rather, and I'm looking at it again. Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. Emotional Intelligence. This is a very, very, very good book to read. And what this book helps you do, it helps you control your emotions and things that you really should not get upset about, right? Things that you shouldn't get frustrated about. A lot of things that you have no control. It tells you basically how to meditate while moving. Everybody doesn't have the time to sit still and meditate. This book tells you how to do it in the course of your business, in the course of your day, right? All these books are at our bookstore, at Sonetquity Bookstore, and that's at www.bookshop.org/shop/Sonetquity, right? And now I want to get into my storytelling. And we want to talk about the state of the world today and our economy, and mainly for the black population and the black community in this country, right? Many things are happening that are pushing the black community deeper and deeper into a hole. All right, you know, a lot of our people are waking up every day not knowing what they're waking up to and how it's going to affect them. I'm looking at whites. I mean, people that voted for Trump for reasons that they felt were great and it benefited them, right? No fault of their own. And see, when you feel a certain kind of way, you can sit right next to a person that looks like you. A person, when I'm talking about, not figure for figure or feature for feature, but the same complexion, the same ethnicity, and live in the same communities. But they view politics and things differently. And it's just like a menu. Some people eat pork, some people don't. Some people like their eggs one way, whereas another like theirs another. Doesn't make you a bad person, if you will. But for whatever reason, many of these people wanted Trump as president. So now they have it. Right? Well, many of them are seeing that the decisions that he's making and the changes that he's doing and everything, it's affecting them personally. It's affecting their business, right? You had a lady in the panhandle of Florida, and they own a construction company, right? And she voted for Trump. She was a diehard Trump fan, diehard, and she was voting for Trump because, you know, maybe their business could flourish under him. Probably a few years back they got a PPP loan, but you know, COVID had a hand in that. Okay, so she said that now she's voted for Trump and she's sorry that she did. And her reasons for saying that she's sorry is because in their construction company, in the panhandle, many of their employees and their contractors were Hispanic. So now the Hispanics are saying that they're afraid to come to work because they don't want to get caught up in the raid. So many of them have moved and left and has abandoned their homes or apartments or whatever it was that they were living in. They've abandoned the property and they moved away because they didn't want to get deported. You see? And now she doesn't have anybody that's willing to work for her. And the chances are, probably in the past, nobody, well, you had probably some blacks that wanted to work, but not every black, and I can understand that. But the blacks that may have wanted to work for them, they weren't hired because these people had gotten a certain view of black people, just like the rest of the world, and assumed that blacks are lazy. So they didn't want to hire blacks, right? So now, excuse me, so now that they don't have the Hispanic population, she said their business is suffering and they may have to close down shop. Well, I know that's not going to be the only one, and everybody's not going to come forward because people, many times, they hate eating crow. Which means that when they make a decision and it turns out bad, they don't like to fess up. I commend this lady for coming on and saying how she felt, right? So what happens in a situation like that, and what we don't understand, is this. There's a saying that goes, when you throw a pebble in the ocean on this side, and as that pebble moves, it has a rippling effect. And just because it made a few waves on this side, on the opposite side, it created a tsunami. You see, this is the way the universe works. So what started as a pebble in the pond and a small wave and a small ripple, it turns into a tsunami as it travels the course of the ocean. So many times when your view is obtuse and all you see is what before you, you make a decision based on that, and sometimes you call that a knee-jerk reaction. And when you make that knee-jerk decision, you haven't thought this thing through, and you don't know how it's going to affect many others. So the decisions you're making, and you're saying you're trying to do it for all Americans, the few that you wanted to please are going to be in a minority. And the masses will be the ones that suffer. See? So I commend the lady. I commend her for coming on saying so. I saw another one where a young lady and her parents voted for Donald Trump. And when he did, they came in and they raided their property. They raided the property and they deported the mother and father. So now the daughter is saying that she's sorry that they voted for Trump. And there's another guy, he says he's willing to negotiate to try and get his wife back to the country. I don't know what he's willing to negotiate with, but everything is just twisted. Everything is weird, and it's our president that created that. And you know, why would you turn a situation like the mafia and you want to shake down your allies and your friends as though we don't have anything, as though they don't have anything that we purchase from them, and then they place a tariff. So if each side places a 10% tariff or a 25% tariff on one another, nothing changes, ladies and gentlemen. What does change is the consumer. Oh my gosh, this phone now is getting hot. What changes, gotta turn this one off, y'all. Sorry about that, man. My cameras are acting up this morning. So anyway, what changes are the prices are going to go to the public. The taxpayers are the ones that are going to have to pay that 25% tariff and the taxes on all of the product that's going to rise. And I know, you know, now don't get me wrong, Donald Trump knows far more than what I know. But the things that we know, we know. I know simple mathematics and simple physics. All right, if one side charges, if people are trading and they're dealing and they're doing whatever they're doing and they're satisfied with that, but if one side raises 25% on the other, how does he offset it? He offsets it by placing another 25%, their own. So when you do that, you're buttressing it. Now it's equal. So now everything that you were doing, the prices have just risen. So in order for the consumers to purchase it, they're going to have to pay that 25% increase. And that's just the way things work. And I don't care how brilliant you think you are. This is how it happens. So now, and the way I see it is that because I've seen that you put a halt to the tariff, but you wanted to throw it out there and you wanted to give the other party a chance to think about it. And all the while you may have been bluffing, and all the while you're going to pull back. and you're going to pull back, and then you're going to say, well, okay, that'll bring you to the table. We can talk about it. We can discuss it. But that's not that. Those are old ways of negotiating. And everybody's not to be bullied. Some people are going to stand up and they're going to push back just as hard. You charged Mexico 25% on the tariff. You charged Canada 25% on the tariff, and you charged China 10%. And I understand why you charge. There are several reasons you charge China 10%. One, because you probably get more merchandise from China than those other two countries, right? But at the same time, too, China is a superpower, right? China has survived tariffs that's been placed on them by Obama and Biden. Whether they're bullshit tariffs or not, China survived. China can do a whole lot around the world without having to deal with us. You know what I'm saying? But now you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. And I just think that those are bully tactics. Some of the things that he's going to do, it's going to land spot on. Some of the things he's doing, it's going to benefit. It's going to surface. But when you start, you say you was going to lower the prices in food. What you're doing is exactly the opposite. And I don't want to have to tell any of my friends or my partners or my cohorts, I told you so. That's not who I am. Because if they suffer, I suffer. And as that saying goes, you want for your brother and sister what you'll want for yourself, right? So that leads me to the next thing I wanted to talk about, right? To survive certain things like this that are being placed on a people, when you're being oppressed and suppressed like this, the way you make it through the storm, anytime, just think about it. Whenever there's a catastrophe or any devastation or whatever, people come out and they start to give. That's the great thing about us. But see, we should do it all the time. We shouldn't just do it just at that time and then we go back into our shell. If we do it continuously, then we would avoid the downtime altogether. When I came home from incarceration, and there's just so much to talk about. When I came home from incarceration, man, there was so much that I wanted to do for my people. Notwithstanding, not shutting anybody else out. But if I can help others, and in the process help my people and lift them up as well, then it's a victory for everyone, right? But when I came home and the ministers wanted me to go on a speaking tour, they wanted me to go and speak to the youth and tell them to get out of the streets, right? Well, let me tell you something. When you're dealing with the youth and when you're dealing with the public and they're hustling, whatever it is they're doing, robbing, selling drugs, whatever the situation may be, scamming, whatever, and this is how they eat. It's just like an addiction. It's just like a drug. And when you're trying to wean somebody off of their drug of choice, you have to have something that will supplement, that will take the place of what it was that they were doing. Okay? To heroin, there's methadone. Methadone is, and I don't want to call it a placebo, but it is a drug. And it is a drug that weans you off the harmful, death-defying heroin or drugs or whatever it is that they may be addicted to, right? I had a conversation with a gentleman last night in a cigar lounge, and we discussed it in depth, and we talked about, drugs and everything. And I shared with him things about heroin that he didn't know about. But I was telling him that the difference between heroin and coke, and I'm going to get back on the subject in a minute. I was telling him that let's take crack for instance, right? See, with crack, cocaine is a stimulant. And what happens is cocaine is an upper, and it gets you pumped, it gets you crunk. So when crack came in, it was a cheaper high, and it was a quick high. So what happens, you will get that high, and it will last only so long. But then you're coming back for more. So now, you're going to get high as long as you have money. You're going to purchase it. You're going to purchase it. You're going to purchase it. Why? Because you're addicted, and those endorphins are feeding it. And they're telling you to come, come, come. Because a cocaine high, an addiction, it mostly affects the brain. Right? And it's your brain that keeps you coming, coming, coming. There's no downtime until you run out of money, or either your dealer tells you he's not going to sell you anymore, right? Now, a heroin addiction, on the other hand, it affects you physically. It affects your body. And your body craves the drug. So you're going to get heroin. Your clientele, that's what I'm going to call them, they're going to see you twice a day. They're going to come to you first thing in the morning to get their early morning hit, to get them started for the day. They're not going to spend no more than they need to, because they know if they got more, they're going to shoot more, and it'll kill them. So they don't want that. So what they'll do is they'll buy that for the morning. And then as the day settles and as the day closes, they want one that's going to tide them and get them through the night. So you can almost set your clock. All right? So you got people who are more disciplined, and they might buy 2 papers for the day, so they won't have to come back and deal with the rush. They won't have to deal with it. So they'll buy one for the morning, and they'll buy one for the evening, and then they'll see you tomorrow morning. But then you have those that's going to see you morning, and they're going to see you evening. Right? So what I shared with the brother is this. I said, did you know that if someone OD'd off heroin and it's your pack, it's going to increase your business. It's like advertising for Michael Jordan's tennis shoes. It's like the marketing for his tennis shoes, And when people hear you have a product, I don't care what side of town it's on, they're coming to get it because, you know why? Somebody died. So they call that fire. They say, man, that shit was fire. They say, dude passed. So they say, well, damn, why would they want to go and get something that kills somebody else? That's like suicide. I said, not in their minds. They feel that the shit was so good that person could not take it. But they're stronger. So therefore, that's what they want. They want that shit that has the potential to put them down. Call it crazy, but that's just the dynamics of it. And this is what I'm telling you, that when you see things so much, see, law and medical, they always call it practice. Because you never conquer it. And what happens is when you study symptoms and you see symptoms, then you understand how to give a diagnosis. So when you're selling heroin, it's just like a doctor. It's no different, because it's going to have the effect on your patient or your client or whatever that may be. So, I shared with him, man, that, when people die, it increased the business. So when fentanyl come about, man, people will run into the wrong thing because they didn't know that they was running into a burning house, if you will. when fentanyl came around. See, the person didn't die from the power of the heroin. The person died from the fentanyl. So the people that were addicted, they were coming to try and get that high. So anyway, so back to the church. When they wanted me to go out and speak, I couldn't get on the platform. I didn't feel good about getting on the platform and telling the youth, the young ladies and the young men, drop your hustle and go out and try to find a job, or just get out the streets and try to do something else. But see, I don't feel comfortable telling you that, because it's almost like I'm looking down my nose to tell you things like that a whole bit. And I know, man, you got so many people that speak far more eloquent than me, and they give you the hopes and they give you the dreams, and then you'll leave that little gathering feeling really good. And then you'll go out and try to find a job, and you find out that you don't have the credentials, you don't have the experience, and you know, it doesn't service you, it doesn't help you, right? So now what are you going to do when you don't put your hustle down? So I couldn't tell nobody to put their hustle down unless they had something else to pick up. So I opted out of going on those speaking tours, and I tried to build something and do something that would help our people financially. And I built Sonetquity, right? So many other brothers and sisters that were coming home from prison, they wanted to start different programs for their communities, like the food pantries, giving away clothes, giving away school items. They'll do things where they were teaching people how to write resumes and a whole bit. All of that is good. But if you're a person that's supporting your family by hustling and selling drugs or scamming or stealing or fencing, whatever it is that you're doing, you know, things weren't moving fast enough for you. So at some point or another, right, at some point or another, you were going to go back to being in the streets. You have to have something to replace it with, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the story, and then I'll come back to that. You know, excuse me. My brother, one of my brothers, may he rest in peace, my brother Daryl, right? Daryl had a job working at chemical plant in Baton Rouge, petroleum, whole bit. So my brother was making a good living. My brother was making a good living, taking care of his family, the whole bit. You know, so there was an explosion at the plant. So my brother lost his job as a result of that. You know, the plant blew up and had to rebuild it. So my brother tried finding jobs in that field, but many of them would take him, was going to take him far away from home. So, you know, I was servicing that area, and I had one of my friends, may he rest in peace, whose name I care not to mention. And my guy was like the guy in the city. He was the big man, but I was the one that was supplying him. So there were times he would order maybe 50 to 100 keys. And let's see, at the time, all I may have had was 80, right? So I would bring him 80 when he wanted 100. So let me show you how he think, right? He's not getting cheated. He didn't pay me for 100 and I brought him 80. He requested 100. He had the money for 100 and I came with 80. So he paid for 80. No harm, no foul. By the time you get rid of that 80, or in the middle of you getting rid of that 80, I would come back with 20 plus So you would have your 100. The math is gonna math. So he said in joking, but see, whenever anybody tells you a joke, try to look for that stress. Try to look for that scene where reality meets fantasy, right? Well, my friend said that, man, you've been shortening me, man. I've been wanting 100, you bring me 80. I've been wanting 50, you bring me 40. So I laughed at it because I know that there's no, there's no BS going on, and there's no monies that's short. Nobody's short out of money. So there's no screwing going on there. So I felt real confident. So I laughed and I pushed back with the joke. So he said, man, you must be taking it and giving it to your brother. So when he said that, I laughed again. So then he mentioned it again. He said, yeah, man. He said, the work you're taking to me, you're giving it to your brother and the whole bit. So I said, wait a minute, man. What you mean, my brother? He said, yeah, man. He said, shit, man, you're giving it to Polo, man. That was my brother's nickname, Polo. So I said, are you sure it's my brother? What are you talking about? He said, man, your brother got the hood on lock up there, doing his thing. Well, when my brother, let me back up a little bit. When my brother lost his job, I was giving him at least $10,000 a month, right? Help him take care of his bills and everything. Don't lose his house, his cars, or what have you. And every month, like clockwork, man, I give it to him. He was appreciative and the whole bit. So now, my friend is telling me that my brother's in them streets. So I'm like, damn, I gave him the money to keep him out the goddamn streets. So I need to go and talk to him. So I immediately hurried uptown and went and met with my brother. So when he came in, I asked him, I said, man, what the hell are you doing, man? I said, man, are you in the streets? Something? He looked down, and he looked at me. He said, yeah, man. He said, I'm hustling. I said, why? He said, well, man, you want to know the truth? I said, yeah, please. He said, man, I've always earned my own. He said, then when I lost my job, he said, then you had to help me out. And I said, yes. And I was there for you, right? He said, yeah. He said, but brother, he said, man, you don't know how long those 30 days would be, man, when I have to come back and ask you. I said, but you never had to ask. I always had it. He said, well, it was always like I had to ask. I couldn't get nothing or do nothing until, you gave me what you gave me. He said, that made me feel less than a man, that I wasn't earning my own. I said, I don't understand. He said, you probably will never understand it unless you was in that position. And I thought about that for a minute. And I said, damn. So finally, I said, how can we correct this, man? Because I don't want this for you. So he said, man, I don't know, man. I said, man, have you ran into any hard times out there? He said, yeah, I was robbed one time. He said, but they didn't get nothing. All they had was what I had in my pocket. I had the rest just stashed away. And I called him Black. I said, Black, I don't want you doing that, man. He said, well, man, what else I'm gonna do? He said, I don't want to keep taking your money. So I said, I tell you what. I said, but how much you make a week, man? So he told me. I said, give me about a month, man, to figure this out. I said, I don't want you going back out, man. Whatever it was you were copying, man, don't worry about it. I said, I'm going to pay you whatever you were going to make off of that, bro. Don't look at that as a hand-me-out, man. I'm going to take care of you in that situation. Let me figure this shit out. So now here's my brother on the streets selling drugs. hand-to-hand combat. And you got a brother that's serving guys 100 here, 50 there, 25 keys here. No way in the world you're supposed to be buying 5 ounces, 9 ounces. I can give you that, man, and send you on your way and let you just blow up from there. I could have done that. I didn't want that for him. I didn't want that for neither of my brothers. So what I did, I thought about it. I said, look, and I wasn't cutting nobody else out the job, if you will, man. I wanted everybody to eat. I had my transporters, I had my drivers. I was going to continue to pay them. When they would get to the city, they would have to wait and see my guy that I'm telling you about, any of my other guys, and they would distribute the merchandise to them, not collecting any money. And then they're going to go, right? And then when these guys have their monies ready, after they've sold all the merchandise, then they'll call me, and then my guys, when they come in town, they would pick up that money and make that exchange, and they would go. So having my brother, I figured out what I'd do. If I would send 100 keys to New Orleans, right? And I would give my brother $500 per key. My brother's going to make $500,000. Right? Is that right? Or is that 50,000? That's 500,000. Right? So that's how much my brother would make off a load. And I was pretty good with that. My brother was good with that. So what I would do, I would drop the load off to him. When I dropped the load off to him, then my guys would come and pick up the load from him. And then after they finished, then my brother would go and pick up the money. So there was no need for them to hurt my brother or to rob my brother, because what he had, he was coming to give it to you anyway. And when you say you got the money, you had no reason to rob him for getting the money, because you could have done that and had the money anyway. And then, I'll have to see you in traffic. So there was no reason for that. So this is the way that I made a way for my brother. Now, needless to say, my brother had people in his circle, and when they saw him getting that much work, he must have shared that with them, and he did. And when they saw it, they got wily-eyed, and they got big-eyed, and they said, "Man, all you making is $500 off of each of these?" He said, "Yeah." Right? So that was 50,000. So anyway, they talked my brother into busting him down and cooking him up. And the next thing you know, my brother was damn near making more money than me after he was doing the breakdown in the cook game. I didn't know it was to the level of what it was, but my brother was living and he was doing his thing, right? But it took a younger relative to turn him on to that. But when you do that, you're bringing him into elements that I didn't want for him, right? So my brother and my cousin ended up getting set up, and they were both murdered, right? Sometimes greed, man, it overshadows your common sense and your power to discern. And what my brother was looking at one time, you wasn't making nowhere near this. Then when you got it, you were happy to be making that, because it was far more than you ever seen. But then when the young guy showed you how to cook it up and sell it, and you make 10 times that off of one. So what you start doing now, when I drop you off 100 or whatever, and I tell you give this one this, that one that, this one this, you start taking about 5 from this one and 5 from that one. But the money was never short. You paid for it. So, now these guys are saying, "Man, I ordered 50 and you're bringing me 45. My brother has taken 5 but he paid for it. He didn't steal it. But it's just the idea you're doing this and I'm not knowing, and you don't want me to know, and you don't want to ask. See, whatever you would have wanted, I would have sent that. If you're paying for it, if my guy wanted 50, and you wanted 10, then I would have sent 60. I don't want my people to suffer or feel like they're being slighted for what my brother's doing. But my brother wasn't screwing nobody. He wasn't hurting nobody but himself. And see, when you're dealing with people in a controlled environment, that's your safety, ladies and gentlemen. So my brother was safe in that respect, as far as dealing with people straight up. But when you start dealing on the level in which you were dealing, there's no telling who you're dealing with. And the guys got him and the little relative together, man, and he killed both of them and robbed them. You know what I'm saying? So now, let me go back to the crux of this story and what this story was actually about. See, when you take something away from a man, you must have something to replace it. Because then the question becomes, what is the alternative? And while I'm up on the stage talking to the youth and a group of people that's gangbangers, scammers, robbers, small-time hustlers, the whole bit, and they're taking care of their parent, their mother might be sick, might have diabetes, they got a young brother or sister that's going to school, the younger brother or sister is an athlete, they need money to go to camp, so now you're hustling for that. You're literally hustling for a purpose. And as you speak, one of the youngsters are saying, hey, Unc, Mr. Ford, I really want to get out of the streets. What is it that I can do to take the place of me hustling that's going to make me that type of money? What's going to be my comeback if I don't have nothing for them? You see, my comeback is going to be, hey, I don't know, man, go out there and find a job, start a business. And we can say that shit so casually and be so cavalier about it, but everybody doesn't have that acumen. And you can't tell everybody. I know people, man, that got master degrees. I know people that got PhD, and they can't work for themselves. They have to have oversight of some other business that's already structured and already set up. And they will run that corporation like a well-oiled machine, right? But they cannot do anything for themselves, and they cannot start nothing for themselves. And even if they were to lose their job, their credentials are so impeccable until they could start their own consulting company. And many of them be afraid to do that, so they have to do it within the confines of a corporation and get a base salary. You got two people that go to college and go to law school, and they both graduate with honors. One of those new graduates are going to start their own law firm. They're going to go into private practice, or they're going to get with a firm, and they're going to work within the confines of that firm. You know what the second one is going to do? They're going to take a city, state, or government job, and they're going to become a prosecutor, right? And see, it's their argument that they went to law school so they could clean up the communities and they can prosecute all the crime and everything that's there. You know, that's just a fable, that's a tale. Because when you're in law school, you don't know which way you're going to go until you start getting deeper into it, and all you want to know is that you want to make a lot of money. So you're doing it because of your grasp of the law. Now when you find out how hard it is out there and how difficult it can be being on your own, then you want a soft place to land. And when you go and apply to become a city, state, or a federal prosecutor, attorney, Now the criminal will become your product. So now you're going to use all that law that you learned on how to lock others up. Don't get me wrong, they're a necessary evil to a degree, but I think lots of times the ones who go and become prosecutors and everything, they're lazy, or either they don't feel confident enough to be there and get clients on their own. So they want a paycheck immediately. I understand it, I get it. But then we, the ones that's out the streets, are the ones that can't afford proper defense, proper representation. We suffer at the hands of these that didn't feel they can go out and do it on their own. I know personally because I've paid for a few friends who've gone to law school, and a couple of them disappointed me by becoming prosecutors. Be that as it may. But now, where were we? I lost my train of thought. So, you gotta have something to give back. And I would have felt like a hypocrite telling these people on stage to go out and find a job when there aren't many. Now, mind you, it's getting ready to be a heck of a lot of jobs. But the jobs that's going to be available, man, many blacks are going to take it. And most of the jobs that we're talking about, it was taken by the Hispanic population because blacks didn't want to do it. That's in farming, produce, landscaping, construction, maintenance. A lot of these businesses, man, they're going to suffer. And I'm going to tell you, man, some of my sisters and brothers, you should go out and tackle some of those jobs. Right? Everybody's not going to do it, but some of you should. They're going to be available. But many of my brothers and sisters that were getting out of prisons, they wanted to start programs, non-profits. Everybody wanted a non-profit, the whole bit. And they wanted to get government grants, things of that nature. You want to go out, you want to buy food, clothing, and everything that you can give away in a pantry. I volunteered to work at a couple of these. And as a matter of fact, I've gotten with someone that has gotten me to be a part of that. We're not 501c3 just yet. But I work with an organization that gives out food. Last night, on my way home, 8 o'clock, I'm right around the corner. I live right around the corner from a mega church. And on my way home, you had a line all the way wrapped around the corner for the food giveaway. But they wasn't going to give away the food until 8 o'clock this morning. So people were out 12 hours ahead of time. And I look at all of the different groups, man. My shout out to Brother Too Short, man. Brother William Edwards in Chicago. Brother Jay out of Chicago. My young brother John Mosley, that's in Houma, Louisiana. My sister Candace Wilson. All of my friends and a lot of people, man, have gotten out and they've given back to, and they're giving to the communities the whole bit. But the crux of this story is this. See, just like my brother, and just like the story I'm giving you of the youngsters that's sitting in the audience looking back at me, telling them to get out of the streets, they're asking, okay, well, what I'm gonna change it for? What are you gonna give me instead? Okay. It's just like the food pantry. Every week you're feeding them. Every week you're giving them. The more you get, the more you continue to give. Here's a quote that I made up. What it did, I took it from original quote and I extended it. And that quote goes like this: you give a man fish, you feed him for a day. You teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. But if you teach a man how to grow his own fish and how to harvest his fish, you'll feed him for generations. To all of my brothers and sisters that are running non-profit programs, non-profit organizations, and what have you, you're giving a man fish. When you hold these programs and you teach him how to fill out applications and everything and how to do a resume, and then you hold these little classes that show them how to start a small business and a whole bit, right? Now you're teaching them how to fish. But when you have a business that started, and each and every one of these different organizations and groups, we bring it all together. Every last one of you come to Sonetquity, and we build on these numbers. We build on this program. It's just like the group, just like the situation I had with my man already working in that system. I plugged my brother right into that system, and the system worked like a well-oiled machine. All we have to do is, all of my brothers and sisters out there with non-profit programs and organization and groups, you have the numbers. You have the ears of the community. See, all you're doing is sustaining. It's like giving a junkie drugs. You're just giving him enough just to sustain and live. You're not teaching him how to go out and get it on his own. So Sonetquity already have the infrastructure with the Batana oil. Inbox me and ask me how. So Sonetquity already have the infrastructure with our book club and our online bookstore. We have a drop shipping program for the Batana oil. We have an affiliate program for the Batana oil. All of the book clubs that's on social media, we can tell you how to configure your members and teach every last one of you, each and every one of you, on how to get paid and earn a residual income. And therefore, you will never have to go out in the streets and do anything illegal, but you will still satisfy that hustle in you. You will still satisfy that mogul in you, because you will become your own boss. Now you will be able to go out and sustain a lifestyle that you've become accustomed to, or you will far exceed that with the plan that we have. DM me for the blueprint. Brother Jay in Chicago, man, sit down with me. Brother Too Short, sit down with me. My brothers and sisters in Dallas, DC, New York, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, get with me. I'll show you the program. It's very, once you learn, once I show you, it's very little effort that you would have to put in other than what you do every day. You get on the phone and you find out what lick it is that you're going to do. I'm going to give you the lick. I'm going to give you the lick. It'll all be about getting your credit repaired, getting your credit up to a 620 score, getting you zero down financing on your first home. And it doesn't necessarily have to be your first home, right? See, all that other credit hacking shit, everybody's telling you how to fix that, but nobody's telling you how to earn the money. We're going to show you exactly how to earn the money. Then you can do all that other shit on your own. Because understand, at the end of the day, while a person is feeding you and giving to you, just like my brother said, if there's something you want to do in the middle, before that time, you can't do it. You got to wait until that handout comes to you again. So what if all the groceries that these people get on Tuesday morning, by Thursday they're out. And now they got to struggle and make ends meet and make things do until that next Tuesday morning. So with all these programs, and with Donald Trump cutting a lot of these programs, a lot of these food pantries are going to go under. And now they're going to have to get donations. They're not going to be able to get grants from the government anymore. They're going to have to get private donations from billionaires and what have you. So many of them are going to cut back because of DEI. Take it from me, ladies and gentlemen, it's a ripple effect. I told you. And as the ripple crosses that ocean, it turns to a tsunami. So we're not going to know what's going to happen at the end of this. And believe me, we got 2 years to deal with a lot of this shit. And that will be our first opportunity to make change, to put people in office that can challenge the president on this. And that's what you want to do. You want to stop that charging bull, right? And now you want to have everybody accountable because they're dealing with checks and balances. Right now he has free reign. Oh, it's a lot to digest, but I just wanted to share that with you. Just understand the story that I'm telling you about my brother. It made me see the light. Even if a person is giving you something to sustain you, there's still more that you want for yourself. And you want to be put and placed in position to win. So to all my guys and ladies that are doing the non-profit programs, the whole bit, let's sit down and let me share with you what it is that I have to offer for you to offer to them. I wish I had your skills in order to bring all the people together. I just didn't feel comfortable doing it because I had bigger hopes and aspirations for my people. And I just couldn't stop at, getting funding, and then I'm buying warehouses worth of food and I'm giving it away without anything in the horizon, anything beyond those Tuesdays of what I would have to offer them as a strong U.S. citizen. Okay? Well, I see I have a bunch of friends on, man. I'm going to wave at you from here, but the phone is so far back I can't quite see it. And as you see, I'm getting all sorts of calls and everything at this time, so I'm going to have to break in a little bit. Cameras started off good, then they start acting up. But this is what I want you guys to focus on. Again, I want you to focus on, all right? I'm going to show you how to earn money from the sales of Batana. I'm going to show you how to put your book clubs together and to be able to earn within your group a substantial supplement income. All right? I'm going to show you how to market books, get your books published, even turn some of your manuscripts into movie scripts. Right? These are the things that I want to show you. Those who've never owned a house before, we want to show you how you can become the first-time owner of your very own home. That's what I have to offer. But I have no takers. You have all the people, I have all the product to benefit us to grow. We need to start coming together, and not just in my community with my zip code. I'm talking about in every downtrodden black community throughout the United States. You know how much power you have there? Think about it. Let me tell you what it's like. It's like playing for an NBA basketball team or NFL football team or Major League Baseball team, right? And you suit up every night, night in, night out. But you never get a chance to really play, right? But because you're a part of that team, you still get a ring. You see? Because you're a part of that team, you still get a ring. So if everybody from your team that's watching this become and be a part of our team, now we are one humongous team. So every victory that we have, we share with you. There's no losses here. It's win-win. They say everything is hard by the yard, but it's a cinch by the inch. And it's much easier to do heavy lifting with many as it takes with a few. On that, I bid you an adieu. You guys go out and have a wonderful day. As I finish my cigar, it's slower than I thought, and I don't want to be on any longer than I need to. But I have some calls and some texts to answer. But thank you guys for coming on board. Again, DM me. Find out about our drop shipping program for Botana and our affiliate program. All right? God bless you. Peace.